Who can tell me why women history? Why is this important?
Because women don't get recognized enough.
Okay, give me some other reason. Asia, I need my lady to speak up. This is your time. Tell me why.
Why what?
Why is this month so important, Women's History Month? We recognizing women across the world. Why is it so important?
Why is it so important to recognize women across the world?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I would say it's important here because when it comes to women, we do have a lot of things that we have worked on. Like we wasn't even allowed to be able to do pretty much anything until the 1920s to 30s. So in between that and the fact that with all of the things that even as far as women has been through, when it comes to the fact of humanity and the government, men were more able to do everything else other than what women were able to. Like we couldn't vote, or we couldn't even leave the house really. We had to when in the before the 1900s and everything, women weren't even able to show emotion. And if we were showed emotion, and if we did show emotions in public and everything, we would go to jail for that. So I believe it's just important to like have respect for women all over the world because of what we've been through and how we came up.
Asia, we have a gift card that we're going to give you. Great answer, great feedback. I know you're out, but you definitely did a great job answering that question. And I'm surprised we didn't have many more of our young ladies that wanted to answer that question. So I'm gonna ask you guys again, what are some reasons why this month is so important? What have women done to contribute to this great country? Please tell me.
I just wanted to say, because women across the world, it's not even just like a specific group of people. It's like women across the world have done great things for our society as far as like changing certain ways that they were ruled and giving like light on like the struggles that we went through that men couldn't understand. So it's like part of that in the history is this appreciation, and also just like our way of expressing our love for each other as a group, a marginalized group, is a beautiful thing. And that's why we have Women's History Month. We're able to speak to our friends and everything.
You said marginalized groups. Women have contributed a lot. This is the opportunity for people to, yes, honor your contribution. Do you feel like this is something that has been a struggle for many years, you know, for women, even in the workplace? Can you give me some examples?
Definitely a new thing. It was very hard for women, especially back then, because people would look down on women as like the weaker group, because I guess even physically too, we don't have the same structure as men do. So it's a lot of things, but women too can contribute to society, and we can do great things just as men can too. So it's like, yeah, just like cheering women on. It's a great thing.
Wow. I have two daughters, so, you know, this is very important for me. My daughter's 9 and 4, you know, as we continue to develop them and to be some great women, right? And so we're going to be leaning on you guys that are here to really educate, you know, each other, educate the community, educate people in your program. But most importantly, we're creating a platform for you guys to have some dialogue and open up. And Mr. Stallings, before he introduced the speakers, once everyone gets on, this is a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions. And we want you to, because we want you to hear their stories and some of the challenges they had to overcome, but also how they persevered and what they're doing now to continue to represent, right? Which is most important in that. So if your camera is not on, definitely our scholars that are in the program,
Yes,
We make sure you guys, and thanks to the ones that have your camera on, but our students, I see we got Dre on here, Linda. Oh, there might be guests. If you're a guest, I'm not worrying about.
Linda's one of our students. Linda's one of our
Okay,
students.
yep, that is. Somebody said they're at work, but hello. Okay.
I know. Yeah, Kelly. And Kelly, we always appreciate you calling in from Walmart. We appreciate you. We love that you put your headphones in and you listen to the call. We love that about you.
Yeah. So any students, we see your names. We want to make sure you get credit for your participation. But we also want to show, some respect for our guests that has taken time out of their schedule. So we do have a couple that are at work. But please get on the call and get involved when it's an opportunity for you to ask questions. That's all I have, Mr. Scholars.
Okay, now I'm gonna say this, but just because Miss Cleo is on the call and has her camera on, and I know Mr. James and Mrs. Leggett will be joining us really soon, and they have students on the call too. I'm gonna say this because Miss Cleo is on the call. Y'all Banneker and Griffin kids better not keep letting all the Clayton County kids answer all these questions. Cleo, get your vote, because you see what Rick Tasia and Asia them came to do.
Okay, my babies are waking up. I'm sure we're here now. We got it.
Okay, I'm just saying. You see how Rick Tasia and Asia, I know. Listen, I see Sanala them on the call. I know Demaya got some questions, Christy them. So listen, Banneker, Griffin, y'all better make sure y'all locked in. So
those my girls right there, Asia and Rick Tasia. There you go. Hey, y'all.
So without further ado, right, I know we are still actually waiting on a few of our guests, but I do see that some of our guests are here. So we're gonna get started, and as those other guests kind of jump in, we'll highlight them as well and kind of let them just join the conversation. But we want to make sure that we're respecting the time of not only our guests but also our students, right? So we want to make sure that we're respecting everybody's time. And I could be wrong. I want to make sure. I think the only one of our guests that is on so far is you, Miss Moon. I know a couple of other people RSVP, but I do not see them just yet on the call. So I'm sure they'll be joining us really quickly. I might even send out another quick email, so you might get that in a second, Miss Moon. But for the time being, hello all to all of our students. It's good to see right now y'all names in boxes, and those of y'all that have y'all cameras on, it's good to see y'all faces. Those of you that don't have your cameras on, please make sure you cut the cameras on. Can everybody hear me? I've got a couple of messages that said people can't hear me. Everybody else? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, good stuff. I just saw a direct message that said they couldn't hear. So maybe try to make sure that your sound, that you clicked on your sound settings. But either way, so I want to make sure that we do kind of talk about some of the reasons that we are here. So as Mr. Stokes said, March is Women's History Month, right? And so because it is Women's History Month, we wanted to make sure that we continue kind of our professional talks with, we've been bringing in different professionals. We've had lawyers, we've had doctors, we've had, other kinds of people coming in. This particular month, one of our partners who has donated funds to some of our endeavors and our scholarship fund and some other stuff is, Ms. Moon, correct me if I get it wrong. It is the Georgia Association of Women in Public Safety or Women in Law Enforcement. Which one is it?
It's Public Safety.
Okay, so Women in Public Safety. Thank you so much. I've been reading it all day, trying to make sure I got it right. So one of our community partners is the Georgia Association of Women in Public Safety, and they invited us to an event earlier this year and allowed a few of our students to speak at their event. And they have told us that they want to support the development of a lot of our students. So while we were there, we asked some of the members if they would be willing to come and share their time and speak with some of you all about specifically their journey into law enforcement. And, we figured what better month to do that than Women's History Month, since they are a woman-run organization, a organization of completely women that work in the law enforcement field. And so for now, Mrs. Moon, I'm sorry, I don't know your title because I'm just not looking at all of my emails. But I'm gonna spotlight you and allow you to kind of introduce yourself And I'm gonna go send an email to our other guests to see if they remembered. I sent one earlier, but we'll make sure that they are joining, and then we'll kind of start the conversation that way.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so if you want, you can just kind of tell us, where you went to school, what kind of training you have, and kind of how you got into law enforcement.
Okay, well, first of all, my name is Crystal Moon. I am the Clemency Division Director for the State Board of Pardons and Paroles. You guys are probably wondering what that is. I am over probably 47,000 offenders in Georgia.
Wow.
So anybody that gets out on parole supervision, they come through my unit. I am the one that has my name is on all the certificates. I handle pardons as well. So when people get out, they complete parole and they complete probation and they actually want a pardon from the board, that comes back through my unit as well. And then I'm also over going to the board actually deals with death penalty cases as well. So when it comes down to executions throughout the state of Georgia, that actually comes through my unit as well. So I started off a long time ago, went to Morris Brown College. My major was political science pre-law. From there, I ended up going to Boston University with a master's in criminal justice. From there, I'm currently working on a PhD in organizational leadership. So that is kind of my educational aspect. As for law enforcement, I've always kind of been interested in law enforcement, but I started off after graduation from college, I started working in a sexual assault center, and had the experience of dealing with victims. Then I wanted to get into actual law enforcement. Well, by then I had a degree and I was like, I really don't want to be a uniform cop. Don't want to work for APD. I didn't want to work for the cab. I didn't want to be on the streets like that. So I ended up working for parole. Now with parole, I'm a certified law enforcement officer, just like any other officer in the state. We have training similar to Georgia State Patrol. So we go down to, we call it as Tift or Jackson to do our training. So I'm a certified officer, can have arrest powers throughout the state of Georgia. So like some officers, they only have jurisdiction over certain counties. Well, I have the jurisdiction of the entire state. So from there, I started as a parole officer. Then from a parole officer, I ran the governor's program at that particular time, helping offenders find housing. And after doing that, I got promoted again to being a senior hearing examiner. Then from a hearing examiner to a senior hearing examiner. From there, then I ran the critical analysis unit, which has everything to do with all the gangs, juveniles, mental health, lifers, all the high profile offenders in Georgia. I ran that program. Then from there, I end up becoming a deputy director. And then from there, I became the Clemency Division Director. So I have the largest division within the agency. I have 2 deputies that work for me. I have an admin assistant, and my staff, my entire unit probably consists of 100 and maybe 15 people. So that is my experience.
Well, thank you for that. So I know like I said, I'm expecting a few others to join us. Some of them already kind of said they would be on. But I know we have at least 3 students, because people have told me. I know we have at least 3 students that are on the call now that are planning to major in criminal justice and are interested in maybe doing some type of law enforcement. I know one of our seniors that is on now, but a couple of other students have kind of told me that. And so you said that you went to Morris Brown. Did you know then that you kind of wanted to be in law enforcement, or was it something that kind of developed along the way?
No, so actually I wanted to be a lawyer. So
Okay.
I was going to go to law school. I was going to practice law. I was mostly interested in civil rights. And then after a while, after going through it, I was just like, I don't think I want to be in the courtroom constantly. It seemed boring to me. So I wanted to be in the streets, and I wanted to have arrest powers, and I wanted that experience, because most people say women can't do it. And it's sad, because I heard somebody say, this is Women's Rights Month. A lot of people say, women can't do law enforcement. Well, back in the days, that's actually true. We didn't have the opportunity to be in those professions because typically that was a male role, dominated role. And sad to say, you still have a lot of people that still think that way. You don't have a lot of women that's in leadership roles, such as myself. I mean, now it's kind of turning around a little bit, but still in these high max facilities, such as certain prisons, you don't have a female that's running those high max super prisons. So being the first, I'm a first on the line. I'm a first African American female to run the Clemency division. So they've never had, in the history of parole, never had an African American female, period, to run the Clemency division. That's a powerful position to sit in.
Wow, and
that's
in and what district, what county are you in?
I'm the entire state.
In Georgia,
So
right? Okay, wow. So
so I have the jurisdiction over the entire state of Georgia.
So we talking about history, right?
It's funny because somebody in the chat says, "What's parole?" Well, parole is when people go to prison, adults, you're sentenced to prison, and you want to get out and do that prison time. So say, for instance, you were sentenced to 10 serve 5, right? That serve time is that prison time and also that parole time. Okay. So if you want to get out on parole, you have to come through my division.
Yeah. Man. So listen, we got all of that, some Black history, some women history going on right now. Like this is, a powerful position. Like that's just wonderful to hear. So yes, Christy said you're over the entire state. That's a lot. Is that ever overwhelming to you? Right. I'm gonna shift what Christy's thought is into a question. Right. So is it overwhelming to be over such a large kind of unit and so many people and employees and and all of that?
It can be. You just got to know your intentions and know the reason why you're there. I don't care too much about the politics, and of course I do have to play politics, right? But I don't really care anything about that. I'm very of a matter of fact person. I care about people. So there are a lot of people that think, oh, just because they go to prison, they're an offender. Well, you can call them an offender, you can call them an inmate, but at the end of the day, they're still people, right? And I'm a firm believer that we all make mistakes. We just ain't got caught. Right?
Right.
No, that's the truth. We've all done some things that frowned upon and done things that probably could have gotten us into a lot of trouble, but we've just been blessed enough that we have not taken that ride down that road, right? So I treat everybody with the utmost respect and dignity. I have a full responsibility for them and a full responsibility for my team. So I demand nothing but the excellence and nothing but the best. So yes, it can be complicated, it can be hard at times, but I just got to remember the why.
The why. Good.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's dope. Before I ask another question, Rosemary said, so she said you can get parole for good behavior. Rosemary, is there more that you want to say off of that? That is true.
but you have to come through my division, so I don't just parole you just because you have good behavior. I mean, we look at the totality of the case. We look at what the circumstances of the case was. If there's victims involved, if there's other protests involved, there's a lot of totality that goes into it.
Yeah.
But that was a good question.
Yeah. Rosemary said, I'm paying attention over here. I want y'all to know. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Hey, Crystal, where are you located? Where's your office? Where are you based out of?
My office is directly across the street from the Capitol. So we're in the Twin Towers.
Okay. Nice.
So, Crystal, what do you enjoy most about your work? Like, what about your work do you kind of, I know you said you have to just keep your why in mind, which is, I think, important.
I mean, I listen, man, I absolutely love parole. I love corrections. There's a lot of people that do this just because it's just a job, but I actually love this stuff. Like, I can walk into any prison, any jail in the state of Georgia, and I actually just love it. I love helping people. I love the underdogs, and right now they're the underdogs because a lot of people don't believe in them, right? People probably have given up on them. Yeah, they committed crimes, right? Some of them committed some horrendous crimes, but at the end of the day, they're still human. right? So I love the conversations that I have with people, and just understanding their journey. And it's easier for me to tell them no, I'm not going to be able to do this, or no, I can't help you, right? Because I know certain situations. But I think it's a respect level too. And I just like the environment. I like the culture of it.
Okay. So one of the students said, so you are able to sit and kind of talk with people as well during your process. She said that she feels like that feels like it would be scary.
You mean talking to offenders? Going
Yeah.
inside of a prison? I go inside every prison. Listen, I have staff that actually works in a couple of prisons, right? And so there's certain days that I may travel down to a prison. I may get there at 3:00 in the morning and watch people get off the bus, right? And that's some things that a director probably won't do, but I do that because I need you to know who I am, right? And for us to have that understanding. But no, it's not really scary though. Some people may think it is, but when you walk inside of a prison and you hear the doors close, the scary part about it is when you're not getting out of there. That's scary.
Yeah.
Walk up out of there.
Yeah.
Close. I know I'm walking out of there at a certain time frame. But when you know you're not walking out of there, you know you're doing 30 to the door. Some people are doing 30 years straight before they're even eligible for my team to review their case. That's a long time. You know, some people doing time outside of prison. Their mind just ain't right. You understand?
Right.
So it's all a mental thing.
Yeah. Jamari,
I would love to see more women involved in it though, because it has to be more women involved in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Jamaria, I love your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. So I said, how do you separate your work life and home life? Knowing like the fate of someone's like, oh, I missed it. Someone's fate of jail or parole is in your hands. Like, how do you separate that? Like, do you take it home?
Yeah, that's a heavy question. I saw
you.
That's a good one though.
That's a really good question. And I'm telling you something. I still have not mastered that. I've been in this game for 23, maybe 24 years in law enforcement. And the higher you climb, the more responsibility you have. So the more money you make, the more responsibility you have. And you have to always remember that why. My phone stays on 24/7. I'm going to give you a quick little update. I just went to Florida maybe last week. I play golf. So a lot of people don't play golf, but I play golf, right? So I just went to Florida, played golf, but I still worked. So my computer goes with me everywhere I go. My phone goes everywhere I go. So you asked me about the work-life balance. I am still working on that. I will never probably take a time to say I'm going to take off and just turn the phone completely off. I haven't mastered that skill yet. I don't know if I would ever master that skill, but I'm learning, right? I'm learning to let go and let my team handle certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard when you are that type of person that loves to work. So it could be complicated, but it also can be very unhealthy as well. So that was a great question.
Oh yeah, they rolling in.
Check back with me in about 6 months. We do this again, and we'll see where I am in that process.
They rolling in now. So I see a question from Rick Tasia, but I think Asia's hand went up first. Asia, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi. So my question was, when you first had to interrogate like a prisoner, like a scary looking prisoner and everything, how did it make you feel like your first and ever like interrogation on a actual very
that's another great question.
Like a serial, if you say for instance they killed somebody or something like that, how did that make you feel? Like how was your first interrogation?
She done dropped the phone. She got so sad she done dropped the phone. Okay.
I know, right? Okay, so Naturally, it's going to be scary because it's unknown, right? And it's your first time experiencing it. But I can tell you even more greater. The first time I interviewed a death row inmate, okay, and then talking to him right before execution was the hardest thing I could do in life, because I remember the conversation vividly, and you know, you lose a couple of sleep, some restless hours at night. So I remember that vividly. But the more and more you do this stuff, you get numb to it in a sense, right? So the more and more I go inside of a prison and I talk to certain people, it doesn't bother me. Like, I probably have spoke with so many people that have murdered multiple people, right? You just kind of get used to it, because you take that out of the concept and just say, hey, this is a person, right? I doubt if he would shank me, right? Okay, as the clemency director, because naturally they're trying to get out. But yeah, anything you do from the very first time, you're always going to be nervous. When you become an officer for the very first time, you're going to be nervous. And believe it or not, I was a hot head when I was young. Like, my mouth would pop off. I was reckless with the mouth. But when I became an officer, it really kind of calmed me down tremendously, right? Because I knew I had the authority to hurt you, right? So it had to humble me, because I could get in so much trouble, right? So as an officer, you have to learn to go high and low, and you have to just remember all of that when you're dealing with people. That could be your loved one, it could be your cousin, it could be your brother, it could be anybody. So you just kind of treat people with some type of dignity and respect. I hope that answered your question.
Rick Tasia, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, like I wanted to ask, like, cause like it shows like I think it's 60 days in and all that stuff. I feel like being in like law enforcement and just being a police officer in general sounds horribly scary, because you're dealing with people who have literally like committed crimes that you just cannot wrap your head around. So it's like, when you're saying that you talk to these people, and especially the one you just said right now, like about the person like before execution, I can't imagine how you went through that. But like, is there anything worse?
I mean, I've
Honestly.
seen it. I've seen it all, right? But I look at it this way: compared to a regular, let's say, Fulton County, Fulton County just got on. Let's say,
See, don't she
compared to
look pregnant?
Wait,
Look.
who's that
Like, oh
talking?
my God, like she look.
Sorry. Somebody just started talking.
compared to a Fulton County Sheriff's Office, right? Or the Fulton County Police. When they make a stop, they don't have a clue on who they stopping. So
Right.
in my mind, they have it more worse than I do. Because by the time it gets to me, I know whether or not you're gonna run. I know whether or not you possibly gonna shank me if I get too close. I know any of that. Why? Because I have your history. So you have to be mindful and think about when a state patrol stops you, when any of the police stop you, they stopping you blindly. They don't know who in the world they stopping, right? So they got more risk. Not to say we don't have a risk, but they have more risk because they are liable to pull you over for a speeding ticket and it turn into something totally different. So this is why I tell people you have to totally respect and understand what officers go through, especially when they're on the streets. Me, I go inside of a prison or a jail, okay? I know 9 times out of 10 what you're gonna do. I know whether or not, if you're a gang member, if you're a high-ranking gang member, you have possibilities of doing whatever you do, right? We all clear this, okay? But just because you're in a prison, that don't mean that things doesn't move like how you move.
Yeah.
Things still go on like the same way that go on out here. It goes on inside of a prison.
Yeah.
You just have to know who you're dealing with. But that's in anything that you do, right? If y'all hanging around some friends and somebody's stealing and you know they known to steal, chances are you with them, you gonna get caught up in it too. So it's the same. It's just the same thing. It's just we have the power and the authority. That's the only thing that's the difference.
No.
Now we have a couple of other questions in the chat, but thank you for joining us, Ms. Calloway. I want to make sure I give Officer Calloway a chance to kind of introduce herself. And Ms. Moon has started us off so excellently. But essentially, you can just tell us, any training you have, like what school you went to, what kind of got you into law enforcement, and then, maybe one of the joys of your job right now. And then we'll get back to some of these questions.
All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm in the car, so if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm driving. But I've done 12 years so far in law enforcement. I'm a native of Atlanta, born and raised in Northwest Atlanta. I graduated from Washington High School. Then I went on to Albany State University and graduated from there in 2009. I started off in education. I actually thought I wanted to be a teacher. So I went to the classroom for about a year and a half, and I kind of realized, no, this is not really for me. And so I had a friend that sent me an application for the sheriff's office. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to go over there and do? I'm not, I've never worked with, any type of law enforcement. And needless to say, half of my family is convicted felons. So at this time, I was just like, you want me to go where, do what? So I did. I took a chance. I applied for a deputy sheriff position and I got it. And so I was stuck between, do I leave school teaching and go to law enforcement, what type of impact, because I love my students. I enjoyed that. But I took a leap of faith and I did. I joined the sheriff's office. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And I remember my recruiter asking me one specific question was, am I apprehensive to using a weapon? Now, where I grew up, you stayed away from guns. Guns were so dangerous, all the above that I had heard. And I told him in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of scared. I never shot a gun. I never handled a gun at all. And so he was like, well, yeah, we'll help you out. Long story short, 12 years later, here I am. I started off in the jail. I've worked court services, did a little bit of warrant services. So I pretty much have a well-rounded view of deputy sheriff in Fulton County. I'm now assigned to the training division where I am the lieutenant that manages training and classroom stuff and off the records. So that is my portion. I have all the certifications.
Still doing some education.
Exactly. My roots brought me back to teaching. So now I'm just teaching law enforcement officers. So I definitely enjoy it. It's definitely so satisfying at this point in my career that I get to share my training, my knowledge, and my experiences with new recruits, because what I basically manage is the basic certification. I run mandate classes. I run jail certification classes. I do a couple of other executive level, management level training classes. So it's come full circle back to the education realm. I was a rebel in school. I mean, I was one of those hot-headed young ladies. I would fight every minute. I had a quick temper. I was always defensive. I mean, I was the person, I got suspended from high school probably about 20-something times. But what changed me was once I got into law enforcement, now I'm having to be structured. Now I'm having to set example, not only for myself, but my younger family members, my younger brothers, my younger siblings. So it kind of changed the direction in my thought pattern. And so just like the other officer was saying, you realize that now you have authority. You have authority to hurt people, and you do have to humble yourself. And it starts with some self-actualization to figure out really who are you and what do you plan on contributing to society with this position that you have. A lot of us abuse positions and things of that nature, but what I learned about this, even though it's not teaching and educating people, but it's still, in a sense, still educating people. I educate family members. I educate people that I arrest constantly, because a lot of times people don't even know the parameters or what's the definition of different things in the judicial system. They don't know what an indictment is. They don't know what are the elements of a crime. So they're not educated about the criminal justice system in a whole. And so I can say that my career has led me to be able to share my knowledge with just a lot of people, not only just officers, but people in the community as well. Because a lot of times I think education is the key for us really connecting to people in the community, explaining to them what we do and why we do it. So that's, in a nutshell, my career with the sheriff's office.
Hey, Ms. Calloway, I got a quick question for you, because I thought it was very powerful that you said with the anger, the fighting and all that, and then you got into law enforcement. what advice would you give for our young ladies? Because we do have some that may be on the call, but I know definitely in our program that are at that point, you know, very angry, want to fight, you know, you say something, they ready to go. What kind of gave what changed you, but what advice could you give someone, your younger self now, what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
First off, it's not displaying that fear, because most of the anger is driven from fear, whether it's a defense mechanism, whether it's something to protect your emotions. Your first and ending reaction is to use anger or aggression. So I had to learn that fear of the unknown, fear of people judging me, fear of people, you know, hurting my feelings. I was wearing my emotions on my sleeve, and the only way I knew to combat those things was using my anger. And it's not necessarily, that's not a good way to go about life, because not only are you hurting others, because hurt people, but you're hurting yourself in turn, because you're not allowing yourself time to deal with those things and just really kind of dive into, why am I so angry? What is it about this situation that bothers me? Why am I so scared of something? Because for me, and I'm speaking from my perspective per se, I knew a lot of my aggression and anger stemmed from fear. It did. It really did stem from fear. And I can only tell young kids is embrace the unknown, but don't lash out with anger and aggression. And a lot of times the environments that we grow up in are so harsh, and we see so much so young that we become defensive, we become aggressive. But you don't have to always be that way. You can express yourself with words. You can express yourself in other ways, and you can express yourself by actually letting people know how they hurt you versus lashing out with anger.
Nice.
Absolutely. Okay. So we got, you know, the questions are still in. I see two that are similar. So they said, you know, do you guys get to kind of pick your own work schedules? How much do y'all typically work in a week? I don't know why that's the question, but you know.
So with me, I'm the division director. So listen, it just rolls like that. So directors, sheriffs, you're in charge. But typically I'm at my office about 5:30 every morning. My staff get there at 8 o'clock. Early because I need to be the first in the door. And I'm probably typically the last one to leave. So that's just me though.
Okay. Well, I'm not in the director position. You know, I'm just one step above the line staff. I'm a lieutenant, so I'm in a manager's position, but I share the same sentiment. I'm there every morning about 6:30, 6:45. My staff are not assigned to get there till about 8, but I'm there most days till about 6:30, 7 o'clock. I only left early today because I had to put some gas in my truck. But other than that, I'm normally the first person in and last person to leave. Most of my career, I worked on second shift, so I was mostly like 3 to 11. So I pretty much was not able to pick my schedule when I worked inside the jail because it's more of an operation. So you have to be on schedule to function in the operation. Once I got to court, that was an 8 to 5, Monday through Fridays, holidays and weekends. But now that I'm embarked upon in training, the schedule, some days I work on Saturdays. If we have a function or event that requires training to be a part of it, that's some Sundays. But most of the time it's 7 a to 7 p most days.
Can I
let me can I say this real quick? You don't have to have a title to lead. So if you don't get nothing from me, do something that you're gonna enjoy doing, where you get up every morning and you don't mind doing it. Don't do nothing for the money, because the money is always gonna come. When you get the money, I'm telling you, you're gonna experience way more problems. So listen, the song is correct. More money, more problems. But do something that you're gonna enjoy doing. Me getting up at 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the middle, you know, whatever. I love doing it. Right? So find something that you're gonna love to do. And don't worry about the title. Don't worry about the money, because I'm telling you, all that is going to come.
May I ask you ladies a question, a follow-up question to all of that? So you were talking about your schedule, And I know as women, one of the biggest things with having a schedule like that is also having families. So do you ladies have families and children, husband, married, or anything? And if so, how are you able to balance all of that? And if not, is that one of the reasons that you don't? Yeah, so along those lines.
That's a great question. Y'all coming with the when I tell you got some great questions, that's a good question. Now I'm gonna speak for me only. I chose not to have any kids. I am married, been married for over 20 years, but I sacrificed not having kids for a career. Okay. But hindsight, now I think back and I look back over my life because I can actually retire in like less than, I don't know, maybe 10 years, right? Can probably get out in 7 if they treat me right. Okay. But now when you look back on things, you have the houses, you have the cars, you have all of this, but what does it really mean? So I sacrificed a career, having family, not having kids, because I wanted the career. I wanted to make that money. I wanted to get to that level. I wanted to own houses. But then when you get all of that, you got to figure out what does that really mean. So with me, I tell everybody I have over about 47,000 kids, and they all my adult offenders that's incarcerated in prison. Calloway, what you got?
I don't have kids at the moment. I have a dog. Her name is Roxy, and I am engaged. I do plan on having kids. So I've embarked upon the journey in my life now where I have to make a decision. So I've poured a lot into my career. I've done a lot thus far. I'm definitely satisfied with where I am. And so I'm constantly getting harassed by my family about kids because I come from a large family. And so I have decided this year I will take that journey because I do want to leave a legacy and I do want to experience motherhood because I have 13 nieces and nephews and they're all overly excited about Auntie Titi having a baby. So I am there in my journey. I have not produced a child yet, but I plan to have kids at some point this year.
Okay. But listen, I appreciate all of this transparency. And look, kids, y'all are doing a wonderful job with y'all questions. And I really appreciate Officer Moon and Officer Calloway. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. If there is another guest that joined the call that I missed, please say something or write it in the chat so I can make sure I put you on the screen and we can get some of your opinion on stuff too. I think I saw the people that were there, but I just want to make sure.
Somebody said, how much do you make?
Man, listen now. Our kids, we don't have no chill sometimes. Sometimes we don't have no chill.
They'll get in your bank account.
I was gonna skip over that question. I was gonna skip over that question, but you done read it now. So they are comfortable in their lives. You heard Officer Moon say she got some houses and some cars. Leave her alone.
No, listen, I make my coins are good. I'm in 6 figures, but again, what does that mean? I guess is my question. What does it mean though?
Right.
I want to hear from somebody. Somebody please answer that for me.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is though none of y'all need to choose, like she said already. We don't need to choose a career.
What is it?
The money.
It doesn't mean anything. I'm telling you, the more you make, the more responsibility you have to deal with. Okay. The more taxes you pay. You're gonna pay taxes. You're gonna pay taxes, friend. So please don't pick a profession just based on money. Don't listen. I like what I do. I like the money that I make, but I also struggle to get to there too. So it's not all glamorous.
So just because you said struggle, one of our students, Kelly, I don't know, Kelly Garcia asked, have there ever been times where either of you wanted to quit, where you were like, maybe I didn't make the right decision, maybe I need to go do something else? Either one of you ever experienced that kind of time in your career?
They smiling now. They like, yeah.
And I will add to that. Yeah, that is a great, and I will add to that question. If you have reached that moment, then what makes you say, I can keep going?
So I reached a point where I told myself, I'm beginning to be a day-to-day employee. Today might be my last day. And in law enforcement, you will have those days. But what kept me going was I put on a portion of in-service with my staff, and we did basically some resiliency training. And one of my staff members stopped me and she said, you know what, Lou, this is your calling. This is where you are meant to be, because today you don't even know how you reach me. And so that was on one of my day-to-day. And so that little bit right there just kept me holding in the road that somebody is definitely appreciative of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do and the mission that I'm trying to accomplish. Will you have some dark days in law enforcement? Yes, because just what we do, you become so numb to what I consider the evils of humanity. And so sometimes you do question yourself about, did I choose the right career? Is this something for me? You know, why am I still here? But then I have to realign myself and tell myself, you're here for purpose. Your why is because you offer so much to the lives of other officers. You offer so much insight, so much knowledge, and helping them matriculate in their careers. And that is why you're here. And that is why you must keep going.
You got anything for that, Moon?
Listen, man, I told you we was undefeated from the very beginning. Law enforcement was not designed for female officers in general, right? So you have to look at it from the totality of the whole spectrum of law enforcement. There have been times when I remember when I first went through basic over 20 some years ago, I couldn't shoot worth nothing. You understand? I'm being real honest with you. I couldn't shoot. And you know what somebody told me, and I'll never forget to this day? They said, why don't you quit to be a nurse? You should quit.
Wow.
Yeah. Quit and be a nurse. I was like, what? So right there alone, you know, it's a struggle for us. But it's a struggle for law enforcement in general as a culture right now. We got so many people that's coming at us in all types of ways, right? And anytime we do one thing wrong, oh, it's everybody in law enforcement. I don't care if I have a different uniform on versus Calloway. We all the same. We're all officers, right? And so we all have these struggles. So every now and then there are times when I just be like, man, I'm one day closer. When I say one day closer, I'm talking about one day closer to retirement. But that's all what I'm trying to do is hold on. You understand? But anytime, any day, it could devastate us because we see so much, and subconsciously we say we don't take this home, but subconsciously we do. And I'm gonna tell you one of a good example. I can go inside of a restaurant. I've already scoped out everybody in that restaurant. I do not sit with my back towards no door, period. And most officers will never do that. Never. But I can close my eyes and tell you how many people in the restaurant, where a person is sitting, etc. That is not a great way to live life, right? No, I'm being honest with you. Yeah. But we do. So subconsciously, all of that goes in our brain. When we're off duty, we're really never off duty. Right. We're constantly on point at all times. Even when you're hanging out with friends, your whole lifestyle changes. Certain things, I got all types of friends, from thug friends to all types of friends. But I know when I go on that corner, they need to put their stuff up because Moon coming on the corner, right? But I'm just saying, in general, sometimes you have to keep pushing because who else is gonna fight? We fighting within ourselves. Yeah. People don't realize that. We fighting internally, and y'all would never even have a clue on what women go through in general in law enforcement. I can say you got some dang good sheriffs out there who's very big on promoting women. Pat Labat is one, okay? Fulton County is a great county to work for, and I know Pat through Noble. So you have to join many organizations, right? In order for us to even get ahead. But we all struggle. Every last one of us has some sleepless nights. Trust me on this.
And Noble is National Organization of Blacks in Law Enforcement, correct?
That is correct.
So that's a different professional organization. So as she said, you know, and as Mr. Stokes and I said, we met them through one organization that they are members of, and they are part of other, you know, professional organizations as well. And so networking, even the stuff that we talk to y'all about now as high school students, right? Because I think it's really telling that Officer Calloway even said one day when she was thinking about quitting, it was someone in her circle that convinced her she was in the right place and using her gifts the right way, right? And so these are things that some of y'all need to understand, even as high school students, that there are people on your path, right? People that are in your classes, people that are, you know, in your friend group, that can encourage you to make, you know, good decisions. And sometimes, because we all have days, no matter what profession you're in, we all have days where we day to day, where this might be the last time I show up in here. And it's important to have people in your circle, right? Every one of y'all that's in our program has said, at some point, I want to go to college and I want to have a career. And even with that being your mindset, I know some of y'all show up to school different days of the week thinking, maybe this ain't gonna work. Like I'm finna cuss this teacher out and I ain't going to nobody college. And on those days, some of y'all need friends or people in your circle that's gonna say, your goals are bigger than this. You got ideas, you got plans, like you're doing the right thing. And so, you know, some of y'all need to evaluate y'all circles, right? And make sure y'all got people that's gonna keep you on the right track for yourself. I'm sorry for that side note. It just hit me like that when Officer Calloway said it. Let me ask the question. So, one of my colleagues, Mrs. Leggett, said, you know, what things do you guys do to decompress, to kind of relax? So y'all, we know that y'all work some stressful days in y'all profession. What are some of the things that y'all do to relax yourselves and decompress a little bit?
I take vacation. You know, it ain't, I'm not gonna work hard and not play. So I use my money to experience the world. So I'll take a week vacation. I'll take 4 days, whatever I can get, however I can flex my schedule to get me some time away. I'm big on, me and my fiance, we're big on kind of like doing those just spontaneous road trips. We might take a weekend and drive down to Savannah. We might take a weekend and drive to Tallahassee or Panama City Beach. But we are all about preserving that self-energy, because what we have to understand, I'm only as good to my agency as I am to myself. If I don't pour into myself, if I don't build myself and just create a sense of peace for myself, I could be no good at work. I'm no good to any citizen in Fulton County. And that's period. So I'm definitely big on just vacationing, family. I love family events. I throw a fish fry almost every other Friday for my family. So we kind of get together, we laugh, we eat, we talk, and we just catch up with each other. And I'm big on that. So for me, it's family and it's vacationing.
Okay. All right. So what other than the golf course? Yeah. What other than the golf course, Officer Moon? What else we got?
Oh, so I'm big on travel. I travel a lot. I travel also with my job, so I'm in all types of states. My calendar is always booked, but I always find time for myself. That's either I'm hitting the malls, I'm hitting them stores, I'm traveling to other countries. I'm gonna always take care of me, because if I don't do it, then I'm no good. As Calloway said, I'm no good to anybody else. So, but I try to hit some golf balls every Friday. Y'all want to come out and hit some balls.
So let me ask this, just because I'm curious. This is the me question more than the kids. Obviously, law enforcement is, you know, a truly difficult profession. There's law enforcement, you know, in my family as well. And one of the things that I always kind of talk to them about is, how difficult is you when you know we have officers that get in trouble, right? It happens in all professions, but particularly for you all, because like you said, Officer Moon, when one police officer kind of does something, it does kind of reflect on the entire field, the entire, you know, it reflects all officers. So how do y'all navigate, you know, just kind of that when there are officers that have misconduct and things like that going on? Because, you know, unlike a lot of fields, when officers make mistakes, it is, you know, worldwide news, right? If somebody in my position do something off board, I might hear about it, but it's not going to be on CNN for, 20 hours straight. So how do y'all kind of navigate those kinds of things?
So
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Mo. I'm gonna let you go first. Go ahead.
No, I mean, listen, I just say it's just kind of like with anything and anybody, right? So I can still go out and serve warrants, right? There are times that I may get out there, but I pick and choose who I may go out with, right? So I'm very selective on who I'm serving warrants with. I'm very selective if I want to go out and ride along with somebody because I know their character, right? I know they're not just gonna go out and violate someone's rights. We see that happen all the time. It's disheartening, but it's the culture, that we're in and what we have to deal with. What I'm saying is we're all the same. So when one makes a mistake, people label us all the same. And we have more risk of getting harmed. There are people out there that absolutely hate the police, right? That will harm just because you got on a police uniform or you have on a police sweatshirt, that will actually harm you because of that. So you have to be vigilant in all your surroundings. But we're all human. People make mistakes, and I am at no place to judge nobody. I just never been in a situation that a use of force was done on somebody, that it was done unethically. I've never been in that type of situation because I guess I'm very cautious of just who I'm around. So we have to think that too in our law enforcement culture. Law enforcement is really small. People may think it's big, but our culture is small. So one little incident, travels.
Fast.
And I'm telling you, when I tell you quick, it go real quick, and it hit the sheriffs, it hit everybody quick. But even when good things happen, so that's why I'm saying you gotta be just mindful of just who you're dealing with. That's the only thing I can say.
Right.
Calloway.
For me, it's the same. I can't control the actions of every officer. You know what I'm saying? I try to hone in about, teaching use of force and what are the parameters. You have to make sure it's justified. You have to make sure it's reasonable. With that said, we have to understand, and I think society don't understand that a lot of law enforcement officers are human beings. Like, we all have our same demons and stressors that everybody else in the world is experiencing. We just have a job where we have to actually go out here and have people conform to rules and regulations. You know what I'm saying? But we still have to deal with our own personal devices and things that's going on with us. And do some of our officers make bad decisions? Of course. I mean, I'm the type of person, I'm more analytical when I do things. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at everything because that's the way we're taught. But there are some officers that get into the heat of the moment or get into things that don't do that. And I can't judge or shame them for what they done or what they didn't do. But what I can say to navigate myself, I try to make sure that what I'm doing, I do it intentionally. I do it with good intent, and I do it based off what I've learned and what I know. I do try to pick and choose who I ride with, because even when I was on warrant services, I'm gonna go with Hudson. I'm gonna go with this person because I know that those people and their values and morals and things about the job align with mine. And was I always able to control that? Nah, but even when I did have somebody that I wasn't sure of, I had to lay down the rules. Hey, this is how I operate, and this is how we'll operate today. But I mean, like I said, people are human. People make mistakes. Things happen. But I do know that one thing that gets done, it's labeled to the whole law enforcement community as a whole. And one bad apple will just really spoil the whole tree, and people kind of look at us that way. But there are actually excellent, amazing officers in this profession that really, truly live behind our badge, because what we have to understand is that we leave out the door every day with not knowing if we're going to return. And that's a heavy weight to carry every day that other people don't have to live with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, listen, students, we're about 5 minutes left because I'm all about respecting our guest time. Is there anybody that have any more questions If not, we're gonna let our two officers kind of leave us. But if you got any questions, let's do it. Let's do it quick. If you got any more questions, so we'll see. Anybody got any more questions for our guest tonight?
I have one more question, which is, what is the most, when it comes to how y'all jobs are, what was the most memorable experience that y'all had so far?
Memorable experiences. Okay.
You think most memorable? I've seen a lot of stuff. I did a lot. Oh, okay.
Good
So
or
I'll
bad?
say no, you're fine.
She said good or bad?
Good or bad. The most memorable experience I had was I worked my first death penalty trial back in, I think it was 2017. And it was so different because it took us almost a month and a half to pick the jurors. And then it took another month and a half for the trial. But the extent and the case, it was about some kids being murdered. And it was very bothersome to me. And that's something that kind of was one of those testing events and trying events that had me thinking about, do I want to continue in this session? Because that was a lot for me. But it was memorable because I just honestly was sitting there in awe of what a human could actually do to a child. Like it was unbelievable. And so it kind of made me more protective of my nieces and nephews and just kids in general. When I see kids, I'm just always cautious about who's around them and what's going on and what are they doing. Because for me, that was something that was so evil that I just wanted. I know I can't protect every child, but if I can make some type of impact or make some type of parameter where they're safer, that turned me in a different direction.
Okay.
So for me, it's just motivating my team, my staff. I want all my people, if we can go to school, right? So I try to encourage them to go ahead and get their degree, especially my support staff, because I have several support staff and I have officers, sworn staff as well. So I try to encourage them to go to school, to read more, to just be just have more in their personal and professional lives. So I want them to be great in everything that they do. Not just for the work, but I need you to be great in your personal life. And I want you to excel. I want you to win. Again, I try to make sure my team is fully paid, right? So when it's time for raises, opportunities, I want to make sure that my people get some type of raises, right? Because I am nothing without my team. I cannot do this without them. And I say this all the time to them. They mean more than me. I actually work for them. Some people may say they work for me. No, I actually work for them. So as long as they're good, I'm good. When they hurting, I'm hurting. So we just try to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do, take care of each other.
All right, so I think we got time for one more question, but I'm gonna let Sanila put it in the chat, but I'm gonna let Sanila ask her question herself because I think it's just a wonderful question and a good way for us to kind of end our conversation tonight. Sanila, go ahead and ask your question, sweetheart.
What legacy do you all want to leave in your field when everything is all said and done?
For me, I definitely want to leave the legacy of encouraging people to be a better them. My legacy, I want people to look back and say, LT always encouraged me to be a better me, regardless of what aspect that is, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's outside of law enforcement. She always encouraged me to be a better me to me and then to others. That is the legacy that I intend to leave anywhere. And that's just not in law enforcement, but even outside of that.
I would say for young African American girls that if I made it, you can make it too, right? So if I got to that level, because see, I'm just passing through, and I tell my staff this all the time. I don't plan to be in this spot long, so I plan to move on. So I'm hoping and encouraging more people that they have the opportunity as well. And it's going to be more minorities and African Americans leading various departments. You know what I'm saying? So if I can do it, y'all can do it too. And it's 2020 with 3, and I'm the first. Okay, so I can't wait to see who's going to be next in line. And who knows where this is going to go. But that's so far, that's my legacy for all Black girls, brown girls, for us to make it and truly be great.
Man, well, I know I speak for kind of all of our staff when I say, you know, we are so appreciative of y'all kind of joining us today and pouring into our young people. And so I want to make sure that I say, you know, thank you like so much for y'all time today, y'all energy, and for y'all just kind of giving us all of those amazing thoughts, man. I truly feel like y'all have blessed our young people today. Somebody just said, I think my eyes are sweating in the chat. Kelly, I feel you. And so, yeah, man, I really do appreciate y'all. You know, this is listen, I didn't necessarily know what to expect from the call tonight. I knew we wanted to do it because we had such a good time, you know, at your organizational meeting. But I really just appreciate what the two of you brought tonight. We didn't even need those other officers, man. Just y'all two. Y'all came on and y'all kind of laid it down. So I really appreciate y'all. And y'all can go back, you know, to y'all next Georgia women, y'all next meeting to tell them, you know, that y'all kind of held it down. And y'all really kind of poured so much into our young people tonight. We really, really do appreciate it.
Hey, don't let this be the last time. Listen, my thing is y'all make sure y'all stay in contact, because honestly, you're gonna need an internship, right? And trust me, I know Pat Lovat very well. If you're gonna get an internship with me, you get an internship with Fulton County. Don't play games and don't be no strangers. Invite us out to some events that y'all have.
Absolutely.
You know, we'll show up at some events. We can have a good time and turn up just like y'all do. Right.
And I actually I just got a direct message in the chat saying, yes, please bring them back with exclamation points. You could have just said it out loud. Listen, but I ain't gonna call you out. I ain't gonna say who sent me that.
We could have, I mean, when y'all have events down in person, you need to invite us out there, because I'm telling you, you're not gonna make it in this world alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all about who you know. You be like, Moon, I'm like, girl, I remember you too. I got an internship position. Come on over.
Right. And like I said, I know we have at least a few students that are on here that have expressed interest in like criminal justice and law enforcement and that stuff. So I know we have a couple that have expressed that. And so, yeah, we'll definitely make sure we kind of try to create some more of those opportunities, man. But like I said, we're really appreciative of y'all joining us this evening.
So welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Please, like she said, those in-person events, my sheriff is definitely big on all that. He will allow me to bring my team, and we'll join y'all. We'll have a good time, and you can actually get to meet other people that's in the profession and hear their perspectives as well. That's definitely what we look.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be in law enforcement. It can be in support services. We got legal. We got public affairs. You have all types of other divisions that's out there besides just being an officer. It's so much other stuff that's out there, y'all.
My support staff is the best. I cannot do what I do without them.
Good stuff. All right. Well, you know, thank y'all for y'all time. Like I said, I try to make sure we hold true to our 7 o'clock end time. So, you know, we will release y'all to the wonderful lives that y'all are living. Let y'all get back to y'all husbands and fiancés over there. You know, we'll let y'all get back to what y'all doing. But thank you so much again. Anybody else on the team want to say anything? Just in closing,
I would like to thank you all for coming. It was a great talk, and I'm pretty sure the kids really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for sharing. And I just want to commend the both of you ladies for your accomplishments as women, period. That is major. And so I really want to commend both of you, and I really look forward to working with both of you more in the near future. As a matter of fact, I'll probably be emailing you really, really soon.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Oh wait, Candy, you're on mute, I think. Oh. Not on mute, but I don't hear you. Can y'all hear Candy?
No.
Candy, I don't know what you did. I don't know what you did. It's okay. She said it's okay. All right. But thank y'all, man. So students, if you did not sign in, please sign in. If you are not with Clayton County, I don't know, go type your name in the chat just to make sure that I saw you. If you at Fulton or Banneker, type your name in the chat, your whole name, so we know who to give credit to on this call. Clayton County though, y'all better go sign in. Y'all know what y'all supposed to do. And if you don't know how to sign in and you Clayton County, you better text me or Miss Q and we'll walk you through it.
Look, let me tell you, Mr. Kenny and I had to make some tough decisions today, and we used y'all's login, y'all sign-ins to make those decisions. So
I don't look, we don't get paid if we don't clock in, and it's opportunities that y'all gonna miss out on if y'all don't clock in. So y'all better make sure y'all do what y'all supposed to do, handle y'all business. All right, so thank y'all. I'll let these texts keep coming through. Y'all go ahead and put your name in the chat though. Thank y'all.
All right, bye you guys.
Thank y'all, officers.
Okay, see y'all later.
all right,
You're
thank
welcome.
y'all.
Yeah, so students, we'll give you we'll give you that opportunity. Y'all can make sure that y'all log yourselves in.
Demaya Mac, don't put it in the chat. Go sign in.
Demaya, you need to go sign in, Demaya. You want an hour, girl. Go sign in. The Clayton County sign in. Y'all know what y'all supposed to do. Retasia, we gonna make sure you know how to sign in. I know you knew. So we'll make sure.
Tasia need
Look,
to
let
learn
me
how to
tell-
look both left and right before she cross the street. That's what she need to do.
You better
No,
not
the
run over Retasia while you on this Zoom
crazy.
call. You
Oh
better not
Lord,
run over
you can't
Retasia.
be hitting my girl.
Yeah, Retasia. I said it. All right now.
I
Y'all
feel
let
like
me know
she's
what the
better at
time-
walking than you are at driving, so don't run over Retasia.
Exactly. Point
For
in
real.
case.
Because Retasia just walks across the street. She don't make sure no car coming and everything. So if Retasia
That's why
get
you
hit,
gotta watch out for her.
Retasia, be safe, baby. Don't let Asia threaten you. Oh man,
Retasia
y'all got
learn